नमस्कार। मुझे यहाँ लाइव आने में थोड़ी देर हो गई। देयर वाज सम टेक्निकल ग्लिच, बट आई होप कि अब आप ठीक से सुन रहे होंगे। और ये एक प्रसारण जो है वो ठीक है। थोड़ा देर हुई, उसके लिए क्षमा चाहता हूँ। कुछ टेक्निकल ग्लिच थी। फेसबुक का शायद कल ही कोई अपडेट आया है, तो उसके कारण दो तीन मिनट देर हो गई। आप सबका स्वागत है। नमस्कार। मैं आयुष सचिव मेरे ऑफिस से आप सबसे बात कर रहा हूँ। पॉलिसी इंटरवेंशंस इन द area of AYUSH and to mitigate COVID-19. This is the topic. What we did at Ministry of AYUSH, Government of India, to help fight this pandemic for the people of this country. There are a lot of things happened in these last few weeks. For example, we did initiate large-scale public advisory and public interventions of AYUSH through different advisories. So I will mention what has happened. For example, we have in the beginning, when it was only restricted to China, we have communicated to the states and alerted them about this upcoming possible crisis. I wrote to all chief secretaries, and also we have suggested some preventive guidelines for prophylaxis and for immunity promotion, and for possible symptoms, which is like flu-like symptoms, what to do. It was well received. It was backed with lot of researches and lot of evidences. But then, as it was declared by WHO as a pandemic, then the whole health system has geared up, and AYUSH also has started, contributing more and more. Our Honorable Prime Minister did a video conference with the AYUSH sector in the last week of March, and he has specifically set the agenda, what AYUSH should do. He mentioned that AYUSH people should prevent themselves to claim big claims of the cure of COVID, because we still want to understand what is the COVID-19, what is its behavior, what is the pathology, how it affects on the system. This is one thing. And he also mentioned that you have a lot of wisdom, so try to establish on the basis of the understanding of this current science. And he mentioned that why don't you people take help and associate with the agencies engaged into research in India, like ICMR and DBT and CSIR and those agencies. So as a matter of fact, we did a lot of corrective, lot of actions, lot of initiatives. First thing, that we have sent a kind of formal notification to the states that fake claims should be avoided, should be prevented. And also this notification mentioned about the spurious advertisements of fake claims of the cure of COVID-19, which is also required. But on the positive side, we have created a crowdsourced platform. This crowdsourced platform is very interesting because we were getting a lot of suggestions, lot of ideas, lot of proposals, and based on wisdom, based on practices, based on assumptions that okay, it is like a taking on respiratory system primarily, and so whichever is working on upper respiratory tract infections or conditions, or working on other viral conditions, should work here also. So those kind of suggestions. So we have channelized those suggestions through a crowdsourcing platform at our website, AYUSH website. You won't believe, but in roughly 3 weeks' time, we have received more than 4,000 such proposals and ideas and suggestions. So we have developed a mechanism how to deal with this, how to find out, how to screen. So this mechanism have yielded a lot of fruits. Our research councils have been given the responsibility to screen those proposals and ideas and suggestions. To further take it further, we have created an interdisciplinary task force. This task force is also made from best scientists of different streams, headed by Vice Chairman of UGC, Professor Patwardhan. They did wonderful job. They have created like different subcommittees. One subcommittee headed by Professor Katoch, VM Katoch, that who is the former DG of ICMR. They have been given the responsibility to create practitioners guideline, AYUSH practitioners guideline, and this came out really good. It was coordinated by Professor Tanuja Nesri. What they did, they sat with all experts of different streams of Ayurveda, Unani, homeopathy, Siddha, and created practitioners guideline. Is a very specific guideline, and they worked really good. It was sent for review to the external reviewers and then vetted by them. It's very scientifically done. This is one thing we did. The another thing we did is that this task force have suggested why don't we work with CSIR. So we have contacted CSIR, and CSIR DG and me together. We had a long meeting, and we agreed that let's work together for this repurposing of established drugs. So we have identified 4 drugs, which all of us know. It is ashwagandha, guduchi and pipali combination, yasti badu, that is glycyrrhiza glabra, and AYUSH 64, that is originally a research drug for malaria by our research councils of Ayurveda, and then we wanted to repurpose it because we have found a lot of antiviral activity into that. So we want to verify. So these 4 candidates, and then there is a committee under subcommittee under this task force. They have made wonderful clinical protocol of a randomized controlled trial of these candidates in 2 areas. One is prophylaxis for the high-risk population. Actually, we have also initiated later, and it was agreed to look at a possibility of having a comparative study of hydroxychloroquine and ashwagandha, because there are evidences that ashwagandha is having same clinical outcome as immunomodulator as HCQ for the patients of rheumatoid arthritis, and this very good research is published into the Journal of Rheumatology, which is one of the best high-impact journal in the area of rheumatology in the world. So we wanted to look at that. A lot of empirical evidences are there for these 4 candidates. So now all these protocols are finalized. It is reviewed by best experts of the country, and I am happy to mention that a couple of experts are from PGI Chandigarh also, and all these experts have vetted, suggested for these protocols and reviewed, and then their suggestions were incorporated. Finally, it is done. We are ready to start these studies into several sites, multiple sites across the country. One of these sites is KGMU, Lucknow. Another site is BHU. In Nagpur, we have a medical college. In Pune, in Mumbai. So, at least as of now, there are 6 medical colleges are finalized who have COVID patients. They agreed to work on this study as an add-on therapy. And then prophylaxis, we have different centers and different sites. So this is another vertical that we are doing. There is one more thing that we are doing is that we were able to, actually, Minister of Ayush were able to publish and notify in Gazette, a formal procedure to conduct trials. And it is a big landmark because it has never happened. Integrative research guidelines were not available, missing into our system, in regulatory system. So we have consulted CDSCO, Central Drug Standards Organization, and they have helped us a lot. They have helped us and guided us how to do it. So we have published that Gazette notification, and this notification is very much clear about without compromising to the science, we can do it. There is no formal approval, bureaucratic approvals are required, as long as an organization or a consortium can follow these guidelines, like having a approval from Institutional Ethics Committee following GCP guidelines, following ICMR's biomedical research guidelines, and having registration in CTRI, having all other due formalities, having scientific board, the data safety management board, and CRO, and all those things. So that's very much clear, and based on this, there are a lot of clinical studies, started in the country, and there are a lot of studies are in pipeline. So this is a very big thing that we did in the policy areas. We also helped the industry for initially when the lockdown happened. So AYUSH was not mentioned into the Home Minister's guidelines. So AYUSH facilities, industry, supply chain, AYUSH centers, clinics, everything was closed down by the states. But then we worked with Home Ministry, we have requested, and they agreed. So there is a revised guideline which categorically and expressly mentioned that AYUSH system, clinics, hospital, industry, supply chain, all should be exempted from the lockdown. So it was started again, and it was also a good thing. Industry is on board. Our Honorable Commerce Minister and Railway Minister, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, took 2 big video conference with industry, academia, researchers, and we had a lot of mentoring from him. I am very happy to mention here that AYUSH also have issued these self-care immunity guidelines based on science and experiences and classical references. These self-care guidelines is so simple that a few journalists were telling me that this looks like Dadi Nani Ka Nuska. So it was that simple, but it is based on science, and it is basically aimed at helping the people. They can help themselves and then keep themselves healthy, and their immunity should be intact and optimized. Here, because I'm aware that I'm talking with scientific community, and the scientific community should be appraised with the reasoning, because there is an argument that if we work on immunity promotion, are we actually harming the possible patients who will be going to the complications? Like we know that comorbid conditions patients may go to the complications, and then the complications worsen when there is a cytokine storm by a person's own immunity, and then by increasing immunity, if we do this, then it is a problem, and it can be counterproductive. But that is what I want to explain here, that our approach, Ayurveda's approach or AYUSH approach, is basically helping a person to optimize his or her immunity, but these immunity are more restorative. So it is like restoration or optimization, but without like without possibly without creating this kind of possibility of cytokine storms, because it is more of adaptation and more of making a person's immunity correction, but not like putting so much of immunity higher that immunity becomes super sensitive and creates cytokine storms. There are so many references and studies available about this specific property, which is called Rasayana property in Ayurvedic herbs, and then similar terms are available in other systems also. So that is also another area. And these immunity promotion guidelines had a lot of response. Our Honorable Prime Minister have backed it, and he mentioned at least 3 occasions on his Twitter account. He retweeted. Also, when he spoke with the nation on 13th of April, he mentioned about that, and from a Saptapadi, he mentioned that third step was to follow AYUSH Ministry's guideline and drink warm water and kada, etc. Also on 26th of April, when he spoke in Man Ki Baat, he again reiterated it. When in Man Ki Baat, he have challenged the community. He challenged that, our AYUSH systems, our own sciences, sometimes it gets neglected. And he has analyzed also why it happens. Sometimes because of, we were occupied by the outsiders for several hundred years. So sometimes we have doubt on our own efficacy, like Hanuman had doubt on his own capability. Then he mentioned that our youth should come forward and start research and prove all those efficacy in the manner which rest of the world understands. So this is what we are doing. So what we did, that this immunity promotion guidelines, and it has a lot of impact. So we have created an application known as AYUSH Sanjeevani. This application is already there. Still iOS version is in pipeline. Next 2-3 days it will be out. But only Android version is available, and as on today, more than 75,000 downloads are there. And then we are aiming that at least 5 million people gives us feedback about these immunity guidelines and other AYUSH interventions. So this is an impact assessment study, is a population-based study on impact assessment of AYUSH intervention. So this is another vertical. Last thing that I want to mention, it is also very important. This is the last thing, that AYUSH also has started intervention as a prophylaxis across the country with the help of the states, with the help of our national institutes, with the help of some NGOs, with the help of our research councils. As long as there are 60 locations, 60 sites, we are giving some prophylaxis of either Unani, Siddha, homeopathy or Ayurveda. And then also there is an intervention of yoga or naturopathy. And these sites, we have large people who is at high risk, and we are giving them. For example, in Delhi, we are working with Delhi police, and 80,000 of Delhi police personals are getting this Ayurveda prophylaxis. And then we are studying, is an open label population-based observational study. And we want to see whether this intervention helps them to prevent the infection, or if at all they are infected, maybe we can see that they stay asymptomatic, they don't go to the complications. We have a lot of proof of concepts. I'm sure that this is going to be proved, but it is too early to claim anything. But I'm sure that these 3 big areas, one is like a very robust randomized control trial, clinical trials. This is one thing. Another is population-based study on a large number of population, like more than 5 million, on impact assessment of AYUSH. Third is prophylaxis on at least 500,000 people of AYUSH intervention. And all these things are being done very rigorously. All these protocols are vetted by best scientists of the country, and technically we are getting help from ICMR. And you may have heard that Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare and Minister of Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Harshvardhan ji, and Minister of AYUSH, Sri Sripad Naik ji, both have together launched these research initiatives just last week. And it is a mega coordination and joint efforts by Ministry of AYUSH, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and Ministry of Science and Technology. There is one more vertical, is about preclinical studies of all these candidates, and we are working with DBT, we are working with Department of Atomic Energy, and they are helping us to understand the mechanics of those candidates, or mechanics of those therapeutics, and also antiviral effect of those things against COVID-19. So we are aiming that in 3 months we'll be able to establish a lot of such hypotheses, and we'll be able to publish so many of such studies into high impact journals. So this is a possible outcome. On the other side, we are also working with the health ministry, and we have provided training to more than 300,000 AYUSH professionals, and at least 50,000 plus people are already working in the field, shoulder to shoulder with the health ministry. Either they are working in isolation facility or quarantine facility, or a clinical management of COVID facility, or surveillance. So more than 50,000, and they are AYUSH doctors, they are AYUSH paramedics, and they are AYUSH students, UG and PG students. So we have more than 12 lakh people, and out of this, at least this more than 4 lakh people are already trained, and we have capability to escalate and join, get on board more and more such volunteers. So this is what I want to share with you, and I'm sure that this small interaction with you will also help me to visualize what we are doing, so that we can enrich, we can further make our efforts more strong and more authentic and more focused. Thank you so much. Namaskar.